All right, I want to start by just making sure that everyone understands what a flipped class is. We all have a lot of experience with traditional classrooms, and that's where, you give a lecture and then the student goes home and works on homework activities. Well, a flipped classroom just flips this idea. So instead of the student getting the lecture in class, they get the lecture at home on their computer, and then they come to class to work on activities or to work on homework. There are several benefits to this approach. For one, since the lecture is now a video, it's an electronic video, students can watch it as many times as they want. They can watch it 24/7. They can pause it. They can rewind it. They can fast forward it. So it's a lot more flexible. The other advantage to a flipped class is that students have access to the instructor when they need the instructor. In any class, the hardest part is actually doing the work by yourself. And in a traditional class, students do that work at home alone when they do their homework. But in a flipped class, they actually do the homework in class. And that's when they run into problems, and that's when they need the instructor. I mean, you don't really need anyone to listen. Anyone can listen to a lecture by themselves. But when you actually try to start working things out, you need some instruction. You need some help. And in a flipped class, students have access to that instruction. So students like flipped classes, and I've seen this on my evaluations. Since I started this approach, on the comments on my evaluations, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about how students like this format. I've also seen it in exam scores performance-wise. They do better in this format than they do in a traditional approach. But what I'm sure you guys really want to know is, how does it benefit instructors? What are the advantages to instructors? And I can tell you the short answer is it makes teaching a lot more fun, and it makes it a lot easier. Now, the specific advantages are, for one, you're much more engaged with your students. I've found that when I flipped my class, I got to know my students much better. I worked with them every single day. It wasn't just me talking to them. We were working together. When you flip your class, you really move from the role of a lecturer to the role of a coach. When I'm in class, I'm constantly assessing where my students are at and how I can move them forward. So it's constant assessment, constant feedback. And I find that strategy a lot more effective, and I also find it a lot more rewarding. Flipped classes are also a lot easier to manage. You get a lot less emails, a lot less questions. It really cuts down on that stuff. And for one, it's because the lectures are online. The students always have access to the lectures. The students always have access to videos that show them how to work out the problems. And the second reason it cuts it down is because when the students have problems, which is when they're working their homework, you're there in class, so you can answer those questions right in class. So it's not like generally they go home, they're working on a homework assignment, and they get stuck and they email you. Well, now they get stuck in class, and you're there to help them. So it really cuts down on the time it takes to manage the course. And the other benefit, which I think is the biggest benefit, is when you start teaching this way, you don't have to repeat yourself anymore. I found it really hard to maintain enthusiasm in a course when I had to say the same thing every semester over and over and over. After a while, you just lose enthusiasm. But with a flipped class, you don't have to repeat yourself, so it's a lot easier to stay enthusiastic. So there are a lot of advantages to flipping your class, but until recently, there hasn't been a lot of resources available. And when I say resources, I really mean video resources, video lectures. So what I want to do with the rest of this WebEx is show you guys the resources that are now available that you can use to flip your class. Okay, and I'm going to organize this by first talking about the video lectures that we have available and how we use those video lectures in our flipped class. And then I'm going to talk about how we assess students' understanding of those videos, because we also have assessment quizzes that go along with each video. Then I'm going to talk briefly about what we do in class and extra practice problems that you can assign to students. So I'm in my flipped class that I created in Connect, and the way we approach this project is we developed a video lecture for every single learning objective in the book. So we have around 100 videos for the financial text, and they're completely comprehensive. They cover everything in the book. And these videos can be assigned just like any other Connect assignment. So as you can see, I have assignments for every day the students come to class, except for exam days and the introduction day. But this is the second day students come to class, and you can see they have 2 video assignments to complete. They have to watch 2 videos, and they have to take an assessment quiz. And so I have this for every single day in the class. So this is what the students do before they come to class. And I typically have these videos and assessment quizzes due an hour before class begins. So to show you guys what these assignments look at, let's go to Chapter 8. Let's look at the video on double declining depreciation. So we'll go ahead and view that video. And as you'll see in these videos, we try to tie concepts together. So this video follows a video on straight line depreciation. So we kind of start the video by reviewing straight line depreciation, and then we kind of show how double declining balance depreciation is different. All right, in this video I want to continue our discussion of depreciation, and we know depreciation is the process of allocating a cost over time or expensing an asset over time. And when we're doing that, we're going to follow the matching concept or the matching principle. And what I mean by that is the way we allocate that cost should match the revenues generated by that asset. So if that asset generates an equal amount of revenue each year over the useful life of the asset, then we should depreciate an equal amount each year over the useful life of the asset. So to make that a little more clear, let's look at this example. And it says, assume Your Ride Incorporated paid $24,000 to purchase a taxi. It says the taxi has a $4,000 salvage and a 4-year life. So we got a $24,000 taxi, a $4,000 salvage value, and we think that it's going to be useful to us for 4 years. Okay, let's assume that we're going to be able to generate $20,000 a year in revenue with this taxi. So in year 1, we think we're going to earn $20,000 in revenue with this taxi. In year 2, we think we're going to earn $20,000 in revenue. In year 3, we believe we'll earn $20,000 in revenue. And in year 4, we'll also earn $20,000 in revenue with this taxi. So notice that these revenues follow a straight line. So this line represents the revenues earned with the taxi. So we're going to earn $20,000 a year. And so if these revenues follow a straight line, which means that we're earning an equal amount of revenue with this taxi over the useful life or over the 4 years, then it makes sense to take an equal amount of depreciation expense. So we'd use the straight line method, and we looked at that in the last video. And so to calculate depreciation expense with the straight line method, we just take the cost of $24,000, we subtract out the salvage value of $4,000, and we divide it by the useful life, which is 4. And that would give us $5,000 a year. So we would depreciate this taxi $5,000 a year. So we depreciate $5,000 in year 1, $5,000 in year 2, $5,000 in year 3, and $5,000 in year 4. So my depreciation expense is also following a straight line. This is my depreciation expense. So notice that my depreciation follows the same pattern as my revenues. It's matching my revenues. Your Ride is earning revenues equally over the 4 years, and so it's depreciating its asset, this taxi, equally over the 4 years. All right, but what if we had an asset where it didn't generate equal revenues over its useful life? Maybe it generated a lot of revenues early in its life and then less revenues later in its life. So maybe we want to make a movie and we need a camera to record the movie. So let's say instead of buying a taxi, we buy a $24,000 camera. Okay, we expect a lot out of this movie, and we think in the first year it's going to be out in theaters and we're going to be able to generate $25,000 in revenues from this movie. And in the second year it'll be out of theaters, so we don't expect to generate as much revenue, but it'll still be available on demand and by DVD and other sources, so we'll be able to generate some revenue. And maybe we think in year 2 we'll be able to generate $17,000 in revenue. And then by year 3, a lot of people have already seen the movie, so our sales are going to go way down, but we still should generate some revenue from it. So maybe by year 3, we think we'll generate around $11,000 in revenue. And then by year 4, almost everyone has seen it. There may be a few people who haven't seen it, but we only think we'll be able to generate around $5,000 in revenue in year 4. So notice the pattern that my revenues are following. This movie is going to generate a lot more revenue in year 1 than it is in year 4, and the revenues are going to decrease each year. So for this camera that I'm going to use to record this movie, I need to pick a depreciation method that matches this pattern of revenues. So I need a method that depreciates a lot of the camera early in the life and then less of the camera later in the life. So let's just say that this camera, it costs $24,000. Let's assume that it still has a $4,000 salvage, and let's still assume that it's only going to be useful to us for 4 years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an accelerated depreciation method. And the accelerated method we're going to use is called double declining balance. So we're going to depreciate this camera using the double declining balance method. So let's look at how that works. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. But before we go back to the course, there's a few things that I want to point out that we did in these videos to make them effective. One of the big questions we get when we talk to people about flipping the class is, how do you get the students to watch the videos before they come to class? I mean, obviously that's the most important thing, is we need them to watch the videos before they come and drill in class. And there's several things that we did while creating these videos to make students want to watch them. One, as you notice, it's a casual, laid-back classroom feel. It feels like a lecture. Okay, it's not like lectured PowerPoint where someone's just reading to them. It's actually more like a lecture. And students respond to this. We get a lot of good feedback from students about how they feel like someone's talking to them, someone's right there. And when I created these videos, I created them, I envisioned talking to a student. Like I created them like I was sitting down next to a student and talking to them. I had that in my mind, and I think that comes across in the videos. The second thing we did is we tried to respect the attention span of the typical student, which is, as you guys know, fairly short. So all these videos, we tried to keep them to around 10 minutes long. So they don't take a long time. It's just a short video that gets the main concept across. And then finally, what we did is we work out problems. Okay, we actually go through and we work out problems. If I scroll through this video a little further into it, you can see we actually work out how you calculate depreciation using double declining balance. And we do this for all the problems and all the videos going through. We make sure that we show students how to work the problems. And for people that have been teaching accounting a long time, most people recognize that what you have to do is you have to work out problems. Students need to see problems worked out. They like to see problems worked out on the board, and that's what we did in these videos. We actually work out the problems. Now, even though we work hard to keep these videos fairly short, try to relate them to students, and we try to work out accounting problems, something that really helps students, even though we do all these things, you're still going to have a fair amount of students that unless you have a way of holding them accountable, they're not going to watch the videos. And so to hold the students accountable and to make sure that they actually watch the videos before they come to class, we attach an assessment quiz to each video. So we have the video, and then below each video we have an assessment quiz. And the assessment quiz is just a 5 to 10 question quiz that checks to make sure that the students understood the concepts covered in the video. And there's an assessment quiz for every single video in the text. And these quiz questions were written specifically for the videos, so they map perfectly to the videos. And this is how we hold the students accountable. This is how we make sure that they watch the videos. So in my flipped class, when I'm doing my flipped class, I assign 2 or 3 videos before each class, and then each video has an assessment quiz. So the students have to take the assessment quiz, and they have to complete it. It's due like an hour before class starts. And so I make these assessment quizzes a very significant part of the student's grade. In my class, I make it 30% of the student's grade. And that's a pretty big incentive to take them seriously. And if you look at this quiz under the instructor view mode, you can see that these quiz questions have really good feedback associated with them. And so if a student misses a question, they get a very good explanation of why the answer is the way it is. And this is a great feature because it really saves the instructors a lot of emails. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of emails about, well, why is this question B and not A? Now, these quizzes not only hold students accountable and make sure that they actually watch the videos before they come to class, they also provide valuable feedback to the instructor. I know when I'm teaching in a flipped class, right before I go to class, I'll always check how the students did on the quizzes because they're due an hour before class. And you can do that really easy in Connect. You can just generate a quick report, and it'll show you how they did. On this report, it's showing me how the students did on Learning Objective 2.1 and 2.2. And you can drill down a little bit, and you can see exactly what questions they may have struggled with. If I have a question on one of the quizzes that a majority of the students missed, I may start class by working that question. So before I even get to class, I know where they're struggling, and I can focus a little bit of class time at the beginning on that area. Connect also allows you to generate reports on individual students. So you can see what assignments the student has completed, what scores they got on the assignment, how many attempts they took on the assignment. I generally give my students 2 attempts on each of these video quizzes. And it tells you how much time they spent watching the video and taking the quiz. And this is really nice because it tells you what learning objectives are taking students the most time. It's also nice because it's another way to hold students accountable. Occasionally I get a student come in my office and they say, Chris, I watched all the videos, I completed all the quizzes, but I didn't do well on the exam and I don't know what to do. And almost always if I pull this report, I'll see that they spent hardly any time watching the videos. Most of the video assignments they spent 1 or 2 minutes doing. So they probably got the answers from their friend. So it's another way to hold students accountable. So going back to the course, the way this works is I have students watch the videos and take assessment quizzes before they come to class. And when they come to class, we work on the B set exercises and problems. This text contains an A set of problems, exercises and problems, and all of those are housed in Connect. And then it also contains a separate B set of exercises and problems. And these are just in the text. And these are the ones that I have the students work in class. So we work the B set in class, And then there's always students that want extra practice. So I assign some extra practice from the A set. And the ones I assign are the guided exercises. Now this book contains all kinds of exercises and problems. Some are static, some are algorithmic, but I like to use the guided exercises because the guided exercises also include a video that shows students how to work a similar problem if they get stuck. So if I click on the extra guided practice, you can see these are actual problems that students have to work out. Now these are guided exercises, and you can see we have 19 guided exercises for Chapter 8. And so guided exercises mean that these problems also include a video of a similar problem. So if a student gets stuck, they can watch the guided exercise video. And you can see we can access that video down here by hitting hint. And you can see I have a guided exercise here that would walk students how to work a similar problem. I go ahead and play it for a second.
In this exercise, we will calculate the amount to be capitalized in an asset account for the purchase of a machine.
So you guys get the idea, but these guided exercises are nice because it's another feature that makes course management easier. If students have a problem, they can watch a video of someone working out a similar problem. So the lecture videos basically cover conceptual issues and they also work out problems, but the guided exercises just work out problems. They just work out connect problems. So that's a brief overview of the new tools that we have available in Connect to flip your class. And these resources are also great if you want to put your class online or just use as a supplement to your traditional class. I know a lot of people just use these videos to assign to students if they miss class. It's just another supplement that you can assign that makes course management easier. I'd like to kind of just open it up to questions now. If anyone would like to ask a question, feel free, or if you want to email me or call me, feel free to. Here's my contact information. And I'm also available for conference presentations or school presentations if you'd like more information on some of the best practices on how to flip your course.
Okay, everyone, I guess you can hear me now, but that kind of concludes the video. And we're just going to kind of go from here into questions. We've had several good questions from several people, and so I want to kind of address all of these. One of them, and it's a great question, and we get it all the time, and it's probably the biggest thing in terms of implementing a flipped class, is how do you make students watch the videos? How do you ensure that they're actually watching the videos? And as you see, the way we handle that is we attach assessment quizzes to every single video. You don't have to attach an assessment quiz to a video. You can just assign a video with no quiz, but we find that the assessment quizzes, they make sure to hold the students accountable and make sure that they actually watch the video. And so that's one question. Another question that we got that just came through is where are the videos in Connect and where are they housed in Connect and how are they set up? So let me kind of show you guys. I'm going to try to share my screen with you guys and kind of show you where the videos are. I share my screen. Okay, so you should see my screen in Connect. And the videos are stored in the same places as any other Connect assignment. So if you want to add a video, you just go to Add Assignment.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're working from two screens, but right now all I'm seeing is a PowerPoint slide and a list of questions.
Okay. Let me see if I can go back and share the other screen. Where do I go back to? Here's what I can do. I will go.
There we go.
Okay, now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So let me go back real quick. So the question was, where are the videos in Connect and how do you access them? And there's two ways you can do this. One, you can just go to Add Assignment and then go to the question bank and just select the chapters. You can select Chapter 1. And you can see these are the two new things that we have. We have the video lectures, video only, or video lectures with assessment questions. If you want to just do the videos only, you just use this. If you want to add assessments, you click on this. And then here are the videos. And so you can just assign them by learning objectives. So you could select the learning objectives you want to cover. If you want to cover 1 and 2, and hit filter. And here are the videos. So this is the video, and each of these underneath are the assessment questions. So it's kind of, I usually just assign them like this. I select that, and select the videos, and then each question below it. Add as individual questions. Continue. Assign as quiz. And I generally assign these things with 2 attempts. So I give them 2 tries. Review and assign, and assign. And then we should see it in the course. Okay, so there it is. I forgot to name it, but you can name it whatever you want to name it. So that's the video. So it's just assigned like any other Connect assignment. And you can preview it and see the video, and then the assessment quiz below. So that's one option. So you can assign these things individually. The other option is to assign them, like, we can actually copy over a whole Connect course to your account. And then you can just select the videos that you wanted. So I have a course that has all the videos in there by chapter, and you can just click on the videos, and you can just select the ones you want, the ones you don't want, you just delete. And that's probably the easiest way to set up a full flip course. I think someone asked how easy it is to implement this thing. It's actually really, really easy, because we could copy over a whole course to your account, and then you just go through and look at and assign it. Just keep the learning objectives you want to cover. The learning objectives you don't want to cover, you just delete them, and there's your course. You're done. So it's actually really, really easy to implement. Go back. We had a few more questions too. Okay, someone asked how the results are using this format versus a traditional format. And by results, I'm assuming you're talking about exam performance. And the results from exam performance, I've seen a definite improvement. We actually have a study we're working on, where we're kind of looking at whether or not this actually improves performance on exams. And where we see a great improvement. And especially, it helps students that, typically the nice thing about this is it helps students that typically get lost, and there's no way for them to catch up. And that's what we're seeing. So we see students that, they get lost on the first exam, and they can't really catch up. But with this, they can go back, they can watch the videos, there's a way for them to catch up. So it really helps those students. And that's kind of where we're seeing the biggest effect. In terms of results, I can speak just as a teacher, you get a lot of benefits in terms of how enjoyable it is to teach in this type of format. It's a lot more fun to teach. You really get to know your students. It's not, you're not saying the same thing over. You feel like when you're talking, you're adding value versus them just staring at you. So I think in terms of results from my perspective as an instructor, they're very positive. And then the feedback we've gotten on student evaluations from how students perceive the course, but their perceptions, those have been very positive as well. See what other questions we have. Kyle, I don't know if you can see any other questions. I can't.
Yes, I've got a couple here. So
I can't get any more. Okay.
All right. So let's see. One question was, do you grade the assignments worked in the class?
I typically do not grade the assignments worked in the class, and you can grade them. I don't grade them simply because I haven't had a need to yet. And this gets kind of at a really good point is how to structure the class. And typically, I allow the students to work on the assignments in groups. So I put my students in groups, and I give them an assignment, and I walk around, and I'm constantly asking them, as soon as you get net income, raise your hand. So the group's working to get net income or some figure. I have some check figure that I'm trying to get them to get to, and then I come around and check, and I kind of work like that. And they work really well together in a group. You do have some students inevitably that they didn't complete the quizzes, and they didn't complete the homework, and they come to class and they really don't know what they should do. I find that you get those at the beginning of the semester, and then as they get the hang of it, those kind of go away. But the way I've handled those is I have the main set of problems that I'm going to work in class, and I also have like last week's problems that we worked in class. So I always have old problems that cover easier concepts. So if they're not prepared for the new stuff, I assign them an old problem. So everyone's doing something. I keep everyone working, and it's much more like a coach. I mean, instead of a lecturer. I mean, I'm constantly kind of walking around the classroom and talking to the students and assessing where they're at, and then giving them a problem that they're able to do. And so I'm constantly kind of assessing where they're at and finding, trying to move them forward.
Thanks. Hey, Chris, I got another question for you.
Okay.
All right, so someone wanted to know what class size would cap this type of model, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think if you have, well, right now I'm doing it, I have 160 in my class.
Oh, wow.
I have a GA, so, I mean, I have a GA that helps me. And another thing that to do that helps me a lot that I've done is I recruit the top students. I do this in introductory financial accounting, and so I'm looking for the students that are pretty sharp, that are getting this stuff really quick. Well, some of these students watch the videos and they got it down. They're real fast. They understand it, and they want to help each other. So I kind of recruit them, and especially after the first exam. If I have a few people that did really well on the exam, I'll actually send them the solutions to the problems that we're going to work in class. So they have a solution set, and they come to class and they help me teach the class essentially. And it's worked really well. I was kind of surprised at how well it worked because the students that now not every student wants to volunteer for this, but I have in one of my classes 3 or 4 students that are doing this with me in the section that's like 160, and they really get a lot out of it. They like going in, they like helping people, they like walking around. Plus, I have a graduate assistant that helps me as well. So I don't really think, as long as you have graduate assistants or you can recruit students, your top students to help you out, it's very scalable. It's very, very scalable. So I don't really think there's, assuming you have graduate assistants, really a limit on it.
Awesome. All right, so I've got another question that I can address. It came from Nancy, and she asked, can you talk about the cost structure for students and faculty for using Connect, how it differs, basically? So, for example, do they purchase a book and online subscription? So the answer, Nancy, is there are a couple different models. So for fall 2015, the big push is that the students can purchase digital first, meaning they would get access to Connect and they would have their electronic version of the textbook in the form of SmartBook, which is a whole other session that we could use to cover. But they would basically have everything that they need. It would just be digital, and that's the lowest price point. There is a nominal fee for loose leaf upgrade if they want a physical text, and that's drop shipped directly to the student. So then we've also got the traditional, buying a textbook at the store bundled with Connect access. So really we've tried to diversify the way that we offer this to our students so that everybody can basically decide how they'd like to purchase this. So for students that are fine with digital only, they've got that option, and for students that still want a physical text, and they want the Connect access, they can get it that way as well. All right, so I am scrolling back through, and I'm going to take one more pass just to make sure I haven't missed any questions. And there were a couple that I responded to directly, saying that I would take your questions offline, and I will do so. All right. Okay, so I think we've cleared up any questions to this point. Are there any further questions? If you want to submit it to the Q&A window. All right. Oh, here we go. We've got a couple here. All right, so we've got, can you talk some more about what you do in the classroom sessions?
Okay. Yeah, I typically, the way this book is organized is everything's organized by learning objectives. So I assign a few learning objectives that they watch the videos and they come to class, and then I pick set problems in the back of the book or in Connect that cover those same learning objectives. So you can easily select, you can just sort by learning objectives and select problems that cover those learning objectives. Now, and I generally assign those problems for the students to work in groups. Now, that's the main thing that I do. Now, other things that I do are, at the end of every chapter, I generally have them work kind of a comprehensive problem, and those are in the back of the book as well, that tie all these concepts together. And sometimes I'll have, you have a lot more time when you flip your class. You have a lot more class time, so you have a lot more options of what you can do. I'll have them work a comprehensive problem one day, and then the next day they come, I have them work a comprehensive problem that's exactly the same as the one they worked last time. And so we kind of drill concepts. So some days we may not just move through the course, perfectly in sync. We may take a day and have an additional day where we work a concept again if it looked like students were struggling with it. So I basically use the problems I select from the view set exercises and problems and the comprehensive problem in the back of the book. But I have some other problems that I'm putting together as well that kind of fit with this format that I can make available.
All right. Chris, we've had, here's another one. So first thing, we've had a request for you to give out your contact information again.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. What's the best way to, can you send that out? I'm not in the Connect thing anymore because I think I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, that's fine.
That's figure it out. If I can go back to, how do I not share my screen? Here you go, okay. Yeah, I can put, I'll send it out to everyone right now.
All right, we've had a couple more questions that have come through. Okay, so while you're working on that, a question that Sarah had, is it hard for students to concentrate in class?
I haven't found it hard at all for them to concentrate in class because I'm having them do stuff during class. The class is very active. They're not sitting there. I think it's hard for them to, and I guess the point you're getting at is do they get distracted with all the other students, and are they having trouble focusing on the problem? I could see there may be some students that I haven't really seen it, to be honest. They really like working in their groups, and they generally work as a group to solve the problems. I haven't really experienced that. I've seen that in the past, and I've given when I've had work, when you have some students trying to work individually and others are trying to work in groups, the ones that are working individually, they have trouble. But in my classes, I've found that they really get into the groups. They really like working in the groups. And I will say, before I give an exam, I make them work individually. So I use groups, I'd say 80-90% of the time, but there are times I make them work individually on their own as well.
All right, so let's see. Let's see if we've got, all right, so are you doing this for other classes? For example, managerial?
I have done it for managerial. We have the same setup for managerial as well. I have done that. So I've done it for financial, I've done it for managerial, and then I've done it for 2 MBA courses, the cost decision-making analysis for the MBAs, and I've done it for the financial accounting for the MBAs as well. So I've done it at the MBA level and at the intro level.
Okay.
For all 4 of those classes. And it's worked really well. At the MBA level, actually, I use the same text and the same videos, but I combine it with Harvard Business Review cases and make a custom book. And that's been really effective as well. Students really like that.
All right, so then Ed has a question. Is there anything that we, the professors, have to do in order to set this up? Are we going to record videos of our lectures, or is this being done by McGraw-Hill? So I can answer that. If you utilize the Edmonds franchise, you will have access to the videos that Chris and his team of authors provide. So these are pre-built, and they map very tightly to all the learning objectives in each chapter. Do you want to expand on that maybe a little?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. They map to everything. They map to all the problems and homework in the book. They map to the test bank. Everything maps together really, really well. And yeah, you'll have access to all of it.
Okay. All right, so Jody wants to know, what system do you use to prepare your videos?
I do them all in Camtasia.
Yeah, same here.
You can download it online. It can be frustrating, but it's a very effective software to use.
Yeah, and I found, just for anybody that's interested in going down this road with Camtasia, it's pretty easy to use. There's a very slim learning curve, and it's relatively inexpensive. I think it was, a couple $100, maybe $300, but I use it enough that it's paid for itself over the last few years. Here's another. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions that have just come in. Let's see. Do you use printed handouts for classroom exercises, or do you use an overhead screen with exercises?
I usually use printed handouts. I haven't bring the book. Most of my purchase the loose leaf book as well. I haven't bring that. Occasionally, if I have problems that I put together separately, I bring printed handouts.
Okay. All right, I just answered another question for Ed. He asked if there was an additional cost for the videos, or if they were included with Connect.
And they're included with Connect.
Yeah, I was going to let you say that one. That feels good. All right, so let's see. All right, so we've had a couple of questions about other franchises and other subject areas, and if this applies. And what I can tell you is there may be a title or two, and I'm going to personally respond to everybody. So if you've sent a question in about other franchises, I'll let you know. But by and large, this is exclusive to the Edmonds franchise. This is something that they've taken the time to do because they're very passionate about teaching this way and offering, a variation in the way that you deliver the material to students. So they're very forward thinking when it comes to flipping the classroom and providing you with all the resources needed to do so. All right, I see I've got a couple of other chat options blinking, so let me take a quick look at those.
Yeah, I see one chat. See, I can jump in. Here, I see one that says, can you explain how the setup of my screen works and how I write on the screen? I just use a tablet, and you can use any tablet that you want to use. I use all different kinds of combinations of what I use. I use PowerPoint sometimes Microsoft Word, sometimes Excel. So I kind of use all kinds of platforms, but it's just a tablet, and I use a Lenovo tablet. I've been very happy with the Lenovo, I can say that, but I haven't really tried anything else.
Ooh, I got another one here that I accidentally skipped over earlier. This is from Debbie. She wants to know, do students just bring their computers to class, work on assignments, and then ask you for help if needed? How's the in-class time look?
Okay, I do not. I mean, it would be great if all my students had computers and they could bring them to class, but our students at my university don't all have computers, so I do not use computers in class. I basically have them in groups, and I have problems that are paper problems. So I give them a paper problem, and they try to solve it in a group. And I just walk around group to group, and as I said, I have a GA that helps me walk around, and I have other students that help me walk around. And we just facilitate questions. The class kind of turns into a giant tutoring lab, and that's kind of the way it works. In the future, I think everyone will bring computers, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay. All right. Give me just a second. I'm writing a response to someone. All right, so let me go. I see I've got a couple of other questions. All right, we've got a compliment. So, great job to the Edmonds group. That's from Jody.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Next up, Sarah wants to know, do you give the answers to those questions at the end of the class?
Yes, I do. I always give the answers to the questions. After the end of the class, I post them online. I basically give them the solutions to the VSET problems, and I just post them online.
Awesome.
So they do have the answers, but they don't know what VSET problems they're going to get when they come to class, so they don't have the solution in class, but yeah, they definitely have the solutions after class.
All right. All right, I see no further questions. I'm gonna throw it out there. I'll give everybody another 30 seconds if you've got any other questions that you'd like to ask Chris while we've got him here.
Yeah, if we've missed someone's question or something, please feel free to just send me an email or contact me. We've had a lot of questions, so just want to make sure we don't miss anyone.
Yeah, there's always the possibility that one slipped through, so just let us know and we'll follow up with you directly. All right. All right, so... Oh, all right, so we've got a couple of questions that have come through right at the buzzer here. So Deanna wants to know if you can explain your screen setup in Connect, and that may be something that we take offline.
My screen set up in Connect, yeah.
Yeah, I think there may be some clarification that needs to happen before we can answer that.
Okay.
All right, and then so Sarah wants to know, does this mean that every class is only problems?
Yeah, it's pretty much exercises and problems. I mean, as it said in the presentation, like I do, if there's an issue where, you know, I can tell there's a lot of confusion on a certain topic, I'll stop and I'll go up and I'll do a mini lecture on the board. But if there's no, you know, for the most part, I'd say it's all exercises and problems. It's all drilling. I just drill them and drill them and drill them. And I've found that to be very, very effective.
All right, so I'm going to give just a few more seconds.
And I think let's see.
All right, I've got no further questions at this point. Oh. All right, so a couple more questions have come in.
Okay.
This question states, what about the student who already understands?
Okay, that's a really good question, because you're going to have students that already understand. And as I said, I try to utilize those students. I try to get them to come help others. And a lot of them really enjoy it. I can tell they really get into it. They really like being able to come in and help people explain things to people. So I try to utilize them as much as I can. You will have some students that they get this. I mean, it's not a lot. At least it's not at my university. It's not a lot. But there's a few that will come in and they'll get it, and they can watch it online, and they don't, you know, they may not come to class. And in my case, I've been okay with that. But for the most part, I'd say most of them I've been able to recruit and get them to come to class, get them to help out.
So you target those students that just get it and try to kind of help them to engage by teaching others. That's awesome.
Yeah, I turn them into teachers. I mean, I send them the solutions to the problems we're going to work. I tell them, you know, that tomorrow we're going to work this problem in class. Here's the solution, so they can brush up on it. And they come to class prepared, and I think they study more for that because then they kind of feel the pressure to come to class and help out, and they like it. I mean, their classmates like it. It's been a very effective system. It's something that really surprised me. I didn't do it for a while, and I just it kind of started happening naturally. People just kind of started helping out, and I saw them going around and helping out. So I talked to them, and I said, well, if you're going to help out, I'll just give you the solution. I gave the solution, and then other people wanted to help out, and it just kind of happened. But it really made the learning environment a lot better, a lot more effective.
All right. Another question. Has the structure of your tests changed after flipping the class?
They have not. I've always kind of done the same thing. My tests are very similar to what we practice. I mean, if you're able to do what we do in class, that's what will be asked of you on the exam. And I use the test bank from the book. I think the test bank from the book is really good. It was written by the authors, and so it maps very well to the videos, to the homework problems. And so my tests really haven't changed that much.
Okay. And then another comment that came in was, my good students don't really want to help. How do you motivate those students to come to class and help? And I think you kind of addressed that just a minute ago, trying to target and motivate them to stay involved by helping others.
Maybe give them the solutions. I mean, as soon as they feel like because that gives them the confidence to come to class and help.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times they don't, if you know they're a good student, give them the solution, they'll study it, then they're confident, they know they have the right answer. If they don't have the solution, they don't really have that confidence, and then they hold back. And so if they're a great student, go ahead and give them the solution. I find that they actually end up learning more than anyone else.
All right. And then another one just came in. Do you give the test in class or on Connect?
I give the test in class. However, I do this for online as well. I have online sections of this. And in the online classes, I give them on Connect. And I use algorithmic questions and to kind of a timed exam. But for the flip class, I do the test in class.
Nice. All right. That's every question I see to this point. I'll throw out a last call. So if you have any lingering questions, go ahead and throw them out now. We've got a few minutes left, and we'll be happy to hang tight.
I got one more question, and maybe you can help me. I just came in. It was talking about if people want to add their own videos to Connect, like they want to have some of their own explanation, or maybe, I don't know, maybe go over a syllabus or something in Connect. I'm trying to think of, they want to add their own explanations, they can add their own videos to Connect as well, can't they? I think I've seen that where you can.
Yeah, so basically the easiest way to do so is to create a YouTube channel. It's what I've done. It's free, and you can just create your own videos and add them to the YouTube channel. And then you can create in Connect what's called a web assignment, and essentially that's just going to link out to a video. So I would just put the URL for my YouTube video and title the assignment appropriately, and then the students will have access to the video from within Connect.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yep. So Sarah asked, do you add anything extra to the online class? And Sarah, go ahead.
For the online class, I basically require them to do the homework. So I do have homework to do. I select homework problems and have them actually complete the homework for a grade, for introductory. As I said, I taught this online for MBA students too. I had cases and discussion board that I added in. But I'm trying to think, that's pretty much no. I mean, it's pretty much the videos. The videos, actually doing all the videos and all the assessment questions is a good amount of work, and it really, but I did add in some other problems that were required for the online class, because the people that took it face to face, they got to do that in class.
All right, so let me scroll down. I got a couple of. All right, so then Ahmed wanted to know if do you have a final exam, and if so, is it comprehensive?
I do have a final exam, and it is comprehensive. I do give a comprehensive final exam.
Okay. All right, so Christy wants to know, does this mean that there's no homework for flipped class, just in classroom or in class work?
Yeah, well, for my flipped classes, I have not. As I showed in the presentation, I do assign homework, but I don't do it for a grade. And I have some students, I have, not a lot, I think 20-30% that actually do all the homework, but I don't assign it for a grade. It's just optional.
And that's probably.
That's really because I want to drive them to watch the videos, to make sure they do the videos, they complete the assignments, they come to class. Those are the things I really want to make sure they do. If I give them too much, I've found that sometimes they don't do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, that's a preference that you've chosen. So I'm sure there's, there are variations of that, but all right.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. We've got just a few minutes, and I see no more questions. Going once. Going twice. Uh-oh, here we go. I like it. So Ahmed wants to know, what is the breakdown of your final grade?
Let's see, I do 30% for, I have to look at my school, but I think I do 30% for the quizzes, and then I want to say I do 20% on the first exam, and then 25 and 25.
All right.
So I weight the first exam a little lighter just so they can kind of get an idea of what the exam format would be like and be more comfortable with it.
All right, and Chris, I want to put this out to all attendees. I know that they wanted your contact. It's CTE at
UAB.edu.
All right, so I'm going to put this in the chat window for all participants right now. All right, there you go. Everyone should have this. It's CTE at UAB.edu. We're more than happy to continue the conversation after the WebEx. We'll be putting those online on YouTube and sending out a link to everybody that attended so that you can use this as a resource, and certainly use me and Chris as a resource if you really want to explore doing this in your classroom. Thank you so much for your attendance, and Chris, thank you for doing this. This is really great.
Thanks everyone for showing up, and if you have any additional questions or you didn't get your question answered, feel free to send me an email.